Hey YouTube, it's Magician34, and I have your Path to Victory structure deck, starter deck, intro deck, whatever you want to call it, deck experiment. I have now played 5 games with the deck as it came out of the box. I'll tell you about them right quick. First, I played against Delver. Um, I mean, it was fair enough of a start, but they just went off, kept bouncing my stuff, and it was a fairly quick kill, kind of what you expect. So, anyway, lost that one. Game 2 was against a casual blue-white control thing. It was not standard legal. Had some craziness, including stuff like capsize in there. It was pretty crazy, but nothing like Tolarian Academy kind of crazy or anything like that. Um, and I had it going for a while, but once the capsizes started bouncing my stuff, once again I kind of lost control. Wheels came off. Exalted Angel kicked me, so I don't have to worry too much about that in standard. But the problem was still that relatively light control, just a spell or two, a counter spell or a bounce every couple of turns was problematic for me. Um, so things to take into account. Mainly, I was just sort of learning, what kind of basic hands I got, what I was always happy to see, what I didn't, how consistent was I. 3 was against a mono green Infect deck. I managed to block him quite a bit, and I never actually got any real poison until the late game. My creatures were always kind of bigger, and the first strike was really helpful. I got some good first strikers like Attended Knight. Um, Liked that one and managed to take it out from under him. So that was real fun. Odric did come out finally in that game, but he didn't end up making like a big difference. He was basically just a beater, and the first strike was nice. But just the ability to kill those tokens was so good. So I hit a lot of my token generating spells in that game, and that was really useful. Um, Fourth game, I played against a casual mirror affinity deck, and it was basically just mirror, and then there were like cranial platings and lodestone mirrors as a win condition. It helped that he didn't hit any like shrapnel blasts or anything. I managed to kind of block and just punch through, and the life linking was nice. And Downpour was amazing. Downpour really saved my butt in that game. Oblivion Ring was useful too, and considering I only had one of each, I feel like I kind of got lucky. But still, relatively simple removal gave me what I needed to punch through against what can be a very punishing deck. So I like that, and I was 2-2, which made me feel pretty good for an intro deck just as is. And I was basically just testing my hands in these first 5 games. Didn't think I'd necessarily do too well. Fifth, I went against a white-green aggro deck. Had a lot of evasive stuff, and this one was also casual, and it had like armadillo cloaks in addition to rancors, and most of the creatures were like they were like hexproof, or they couldn't be blocked except by things that flew and things like that, and that was tough. I got into a big life linking war where we were each dealing about 10, 12, maybe 15 damage a turn, but then life linking most of it back. But the Armadillo Cloaks just got the better of me. He had a little bit more, and when Soltari Champion hit the field, needless to say, that kind of killed me. So, but it was interesting, and I liked that I could hold my own. The lifelink was consistently really useful for me in my matchups. So, kind of going with a lot of my initial thoughts. First, I'm pulling the Battleflight Eagle. It's just too high a casting cost. It's only a 2/2, and the pump is really worth the effort and seeing this thing sitting in my hand for those first few turns. So he's gone. Next up, Faerie Invaders. Once again, too little payoff for too much cost. Even if it does cast as a flash, it's just sad. I can get something that hits for 3 and flies in blue for 3 mana in the form of Arctic Aven. So that one's got to go. Courtly Provocateur, just so often I was wishing she said she just tapped something, like Puppeteer or something. I can see where her ability might be nice, but it's just not enough for the amount of effort and whatnot I'm putting into it. So she's got to go. I can think of a lot more aggressive things. The times I was getting her, I was basically summoning her just to attack with her for 1 damage. So, yeah, not terribly useful. Safe Passage. It's a nice idea, but I can think of many other ways to save my butt that could be more useful, like even things like sleep. So this one's going to go in favor of something a little bit more productive. And also my land count's pretty high, and I have very few blue cards in the deck, so I'm going to just drop an island straight up. I'm not even going to replace it with another land, I'm just dropping an island. So anyway, those are the cards going away. Coming in is going to be 1 copy of Captain of the Watch, just to give me a little bit better late game and to kind of help Odric out. She's just a nice card, and she'll help me, like I say, just help me with that late game. There's not really much else thought to it. Speaking of Odric, I'm running in 2 extra copies. He is kind of my win condition, and he's a pretty solid 4-drop. So I've never really been sad to see him, and since he is kind of the key card of the deck, we're going to go ahead and run in 2 more of him, just to do it like that. I'm also running in one additional copy of Arctic Aven. I was never sad to see this card, and if he didn't get instantly removed, he definitely gave me many more turns worth of time to possibly pull the game out, whereas otherwise I probably would have been killed just because of the fact that he has that lifelink. That and the fact that he's a 3-drop flyer, that evasion was helping me punch in damage. So I was really pleased with Arctic Aven. And the last card I'm putting in, I like Downpour so much, I'm running in Feeling of Dread. The deck's predominantly white, so that's nice. And I mainly tap 2 things, but it's got that handy little flashback right there, which is still basically the same cost, just the colored mana changes. So even if I get Island screwed, I can still cast it, but it's a great flashback. So I might be able to get 2 turns out of this, versus the one slightly better turn with Downpour. So I'll probably be running this over Downpour later. I may switch to something else, but suffice it to say that's why I'm running it in right now. I'm just trying to improve the overall quality of the deck, and this is my removal of choice because it's pretty cheap. So anyway, so I'm going to go ahead, and if you know what the deck is, you don't have to do this, but for those of you who don't know and are too lazy to look at the previous video, which can be found easily on my channel, I'll go ahead and show you the whole deck right quick as it stands now, but I'm going to go pretty fast. It's 2 Captain of the Watch, 1 Sarah Angel, 3 Odric Master Tactician, 2 Griffin Protector, I think that guy's going to be a lot better now with the captains, Healer of the Pride times 2, 2 Crusader of Odric, 3 copies of Attended Knight, 3 copies of Arctic Aven, 3 copies of Johnny's Sunstriker. That thing's been pretty good for me, actually. Been enjoying that. Silvercoat Lion times 3. 2 copies of Chronomaton. I do like this guy. Still enjoying him as my only 1-drop. I wish I had a few more 1-drops, but we'll address that later most likely. 2 copies of Captain's Call. 2 copies of Divine Verdict. Good removal spell. A little expensive, but good. Tricks of the Trade. Kind of wish I'd drawn that a little bit more. Oblivion Ring times 1. 1 Feeling of Dread. 1 Glorious Charge. 1 Downpour. 1 Ring of Thune. And in the lands, it's 25 lands, which are 1 Evolving Wilds. Still the 16 plains. And now 7 islands. And that should be good. That's still 8 outs to blue, and I don't have that many blues. I've never had a problem being land screwed ever. So anyway, that's the deck in its new form. That's episode 2. And until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more cool gaming content.